Welcome to Mission Ready. In this session, we're looking at the first 90 days of the employee experience and how effective leadership accelerates performance, confidence, and long-term success. These insights come from years of leading teams, developing people, and managing performance across diverse environments. Before we begin, here's the foundation of how Mission Ready approaches leadership and employee development. These sessions are designed to share practical insights taken from real experience leading teams and developing people in demanding environments. Nothing here is presented as the only way or the superior way, just a perspective shaped by years of working with diverse teams and adapting to different organizational needs. The goal is simple: provide clear, useful tools that leaders can apply immediately, regardless of background or industry. The first 90 days create the foundation for how an employee experiences their role, their team, and the organization as a whole. It's during this period that people learn expectations, establish confidence, and build working relationships that influence long-term performance. Research consistently shows that early role clarity, strong communication, and supportive leadership significantly increase productivity and retention. When employees understand what success looks like early on, they reach higher performance levels much faster. The 90-day window isn't about pressure, it's about opportunity. It's where leaders can set people up for long-term success through clarity, structure, and consistent support. The first week sets the foundation for everything that follows. New hires don't need a flood of information. They need clarity. They want to understand what success looks like, what their priorities should be, and how their role connects to the bigger picture. Just as importantly, week one is where relationships begin. Whether it's a supervisor, a peer, or a mentor, having a real point of connection early on significantly increases engagement and retention. Access to tools, systems, and information sounds simple, but research shows that barriers in these areas are some of the most common frustrations in early onboarding. And finally, people want to feel that they belong. Psychological safety isn't a nice to have. It directly impacts performance, openness, and initiative. These early needs are consistent across industries, and in my own experience, meeting them early builds momentum that compounds across the first 90 days. When the first 90 days are unclear or inconsistent, organizations often feel the impact long before it shows up in metrics. New hires take longer to reach confidence and competence, and that delay slows team performance. Early disengagement is another silent cost. When people feel disconnected or unsure of expectations in the first 3 months, their long-term commitment weakens. Even when they stay, they contribute less strategically because they're operating from uncertainty rather than alignment. And of course, turnover remains one of the most expensive outcomes. Research shows that replacing a professional-level employee can cost anywhere from 50% to 200% of their annual salary. Beyond the financial aspects, there is also what I'd call organizational drag, those small frictions caused by unclear roles, repeated instructions, or slow integration. These issues compound quietly but consistently. That's why the first 90 days matter. They don't just shape the employee's trajectory, they influence the entire system around them. High-performing teams don't wait for problems to appear. They build clarity and structure into the first 90 days from the start. The most effective leaders define what matters most in the early weeks, so new hires aren't guessing about priorities. They also establish communication rhythms, regular check-ins, quick alignment conversations, and open channels that reduce confusion. It doesn't have to be formal. Consistency matters more than format. Another common practice is pairing new hires with the right people. Whether it's a peer mentor or a high-performing team member, having a reliable point of contact accelerates confidence and reduces onboarding friction. And finally, alignment across the team is critical. When expectations differ from person to person, new hires get mixed signals. High-performing teams ensure everyone delivers a consistent message. These practices aren't complicated, they're intentional, and that intention shows up in results. A helpful way to guide new employees through their first 90 days is to think about the experience in phases. The first 30 days are focused on orientation and clarity. People are learning the environment, the expectations, and how their work connects to the bigger mission of the team. The next 30 days, days 30 to 60, are where employees begin contributing meaningfully. This is where alignment becomes important. They're completing real tasks, building confidence, and integrating into team workflows. And by the 90-day mark, the goal is ownership. Not full independence, just a solid level of confidence, accountability, and rhythm. This framework works across industries because it mirrors how people naturally build competence. Clarity, contribution, ownership. It's simple, realistic, and adaptable. Leaders play a critical role in shaping a new hire's early experience. One of the most important things they can offer is clarity. Clarity in expectations, clarity in priorities, and clarity in how decisions are made. Removing barriers is just as important. Whether it's tools, access, or information, clearing friction early helps new hires move from uncertainty to confidence much faster. Trust building also happens early. Leaders set the tone through consistency, availability, and follow-through. Even small interactions influence whether people feel supported or left on their own. And finally, reinforcing expectations, not with pressure, but with alignment, keeps everyone on the same page. When expectations are clear and reinforced consistently, new hires integrate faster and contribute more confidently. These leadership actions are simple, but they create the conditions for long-term success. The first 30 days are all about gaining clarity and building a foundation. New hires don't need to master everything. They just need to understand the essentials of their role and how their work connects to the broader goals of the team. Relationship building is another early milestone. Whether it's peers, mentors, or cross-functional partners, even a few solid connections can dramatically increase a new hire's confidence and ability to collaborate. Learning the key processes and tools is also part of this stage. Not at a deep level, but enough to participate, ask meaningful questions, and begin contributing. And finally, establishing a communication rhythm with their leader helps create alignment. When the leader and employee are in sync early on, the next phases, 60 and 90 days, become significantly smoother. These milestones form a realistic, achievable roadmap for any new hire. By the 60-day point, most employees begin shifting from observation into contribution. They don't need to be fully independent, but they should be capable of completing core tasks with less direct oversight. Understanding team workflows is another key milestone. This doesn't mean mastering every detail. It simply means new hires know how work moves through the organization, where handoffs happen, and how their role fits into the bigger process. By this stage, relationships deepen. Employees have built trust with peers and are becoming part of the team's daily rhythm. Collaboration feels more natural, and perhaps most importantly, their confidence is growing. Not because they know everything, but because they understand what's expected and where they can contribute meaningfully. These markers are realistic, attainable, and form the bridge between early orientation and long-term performance. By the 60-day point, most employees begin shifting from observation into contribution. They don't need to be fully independent, but they should be capable of completing core tasks with less direct oversight. Understanding team workflows is another key milestone. This doesn't mean mastering every detail. It simply means new hires know how work moves through the organization, where handoffs happen, and how their role fits into the bigger process. By this stage, relationships deepen. Employees have built trust with peers and are becoming part of the team's daily rhythm. Collaboration feels more natural, and perhaps most importantly, their confidence is growing. Not because they know everything, but because they understand what's expected and where they can contribute meaningfully. These markers are realistic, attainable, and form the bridge between early orientation and long-term performance. By the 90-day point, employees should feel grounded in their role and confident in their ability to contribute independently. This doesn't mean they've mastered every part of the job. It simply means they understand their core responsibilities and take ownership of them. Confidence and proactivity also begin to show here. When expectations are clear and support has been consistent, people naturally start identifying opportunities, asking better questions, and bringing forward ideas. Collaboration becomes more fluid as relationships strengthen. By this stage, new hires operate comfortably within the team's communication patterns, workflows, and expectations. The goal at day 90 isn't perfection, it's stability, a sense of rhythm, a level of contribution that signals long-term success. When leaders guide employees through these stages intentionally, the first 90 days become a launchpad rather than a trial period. Small cracks become big problems. In the first 90 days, most performance issues don't arrive dramatically. They start as small cracks, tiny misalignments, missing context, unclear priorities, or assumptions that were never checked. In my experience, these early fractures are rarely about capability. They're almost always about clarity, access, or direction. If leaders aren't paying attention, those cracks compound. A confused new hire becomes hesitant. A hesitant new hire engages less. Engagement drops, communication slows, and suddenly, a very talented person looks like they're struggling. The key is noticing issues while there's still microfractures. Leaders who step in early, asking the right questions, removing friction points, and recalibrating expectations, prevent those small cracks from turning into structural weaknesses later on. This isn't about micromanaging. It's about being present enough in the first 30 to 60 days to catch signals early and support people before momentum is lost. Once the cracks are addressed, the next step is creating early wins. I've seen this repeatedly across different teams and environments. Confidence rarely comes from big milestones. It comes from small, well-supported achievements that signal to the new hire, you're on the right track. These early wins matter because they build momentum. When someone understands their role, sees clear expectations, and feels supported, their performance curve rises quickly. They contribute sooner, engage more fully, and adapt more confidently. The leader's role during this phase is simple. Reinforce what's working. Highlight progress, offer clarity, and make sure each success connects back to the bigger mission. When early wins are aligned with purpose, new hires gain both direction and confidence, and that combination becomes a powerful engine for long-term performance. At around the 90-day point, something important shifts. The new hire is no longer just learning the system, they're becoming part of it. Their understanding of expectations is clearer, communication is smoother, and they're starting to anticipate what's needed instead of reacting to it. This phase is where ownership begins. A strong first 90 days isn't about creating pressure, it's about creating alignment. When people know what success looks like and feel supported in reaching it, they make decisions with confidence. They start contributing proactively, offering insights, and stepping into their role with a sense of purpose. From my experience in both military and civilian environments, this is the moment when a team member moves from being new to being a true part of the organization. Leaders play a key role here, reinforcing strengths, encouraging autonomy, and giving space for the person to bring their own style and ideas forward. The goal isn't perfection, it's integration. By 90 days, a well-supported employee should feel connected to the mission, confident in the work, and ready to operate with increased independence. Once an employee reaches the 90-day mark, the goal shifts from onboarding to sustained performance. The habits, expectations, and relationships built in the first 3 months form the foundation, but leadership still plays a critical role in keeping that momentum going. This starts with consistent clarity. Even experienced team members benefit from understanding shifting priorities and how their work fits into what's ahead. Strength reinforcement is equally important. When leaders acknowledge progress and highlight what someone is doing well, confidence stays high and performance stays steady. The communication rhythm you've built shouldn't fade. Regular check-ins, brief, purposeful, and aligned with the team's goals, help maintain alignment without creating oversight pressure. Finally, autonomy grows from trust, not distance. Continue offering guidance when needed, but empower employees to make decisions, contribute ideas, and take initiative. Sustained momentum isn't accidental. It's the result of intentional leadership beyond the onboarding window. This episode highlights a simple truth. The first 90 days shape the trajectory of long-term performance. When new hires receive clarity, support, and consistent communication, they build confidence quickly. When leaders pay attention to early signals, remove unnecessary barriers, and reinforce progress, people start contributing at a higher level sooner. Across my career, regardless of the environment, military or civilian, the leaders who approach the first 90 days intentionally create teams that grow stronger over time. The goal isn't perfection by day 90. It's alignment, stability, and momentum. When leaders guide new hires with purpose, they're not just onboarding an employee. They're building a foundation for long-term success, trust, and performance. Thank you for joining me for Mission Ready, Episode 3. In the next episode, we'll dive deeper into empowering employees beyond the onboarding window and helping them become drivers of innovation and culture within your organization.